Welcome to the Ardennes Forest and welcome to Spa-Francorchamps as we start a new season of World Sim Series racing action, and it is the Porsche Fever series on your screens at the moment. It is the Porsche Cayman GT4s, and these are the two cars participating, but they're split up into even more classes with the Cup Pro Plus, the Cup Pro Am, the GT4 Pro Plus, the GT4 Pro Am, and the GT4 Am. So we've got 5 categories racing and 5 different winners we'll see today. We'll have to somehow keep track of everyone who's leading and not leading, and we'll see. I'm sure we'll see many battles that are for overall position, but not class position. Should be an exciting race. A lot of cars on track and a lot of competition. Overall-wise, in the Cup cars, it is Adam Kashoni who leads ahead of Christinani, who leads the Cup Pro Am class right now in qualifying. GT4 Pro Am is led by Jan Nim. GT4 Pro is led by Rachmanian, and GT4 Am is led by Begley. And as always, I'm joined by Lodinas.
Welcome everyone, and let's hope to have a very great evening as we still have 5 and a bit minutes on the clock of the qualifying session. And you can follow up with Adam Kashoni on your screens as he tries to take another qualifying lap. But I think he just made a mistake on the exit of that corner, which might influence his lap time. So it's still about time to make a decision to whether he would like to get back into the pit lane, as we see some yellow flags on the track. So full of action in this multi-class series, and as Gustav's already introduced, there are 5 categories. 2 are in the Porsche Cup and 3 categories are in the GT4 Pro Am. In the GT4 category with Pro Am, Pro and Am categories. We still have to get used to it, but the best way to do that, the best way to figure out which driver is on top in which category, is to head over to head over to the WorldSimSeries website and follow up with the results.
Kashoni just preparing for one more qualifying attempt with 4 minutes to go in this one. He can have 2 laps, but it's all going to depend on where his tires sit at that moment. I'm going to look to see if you see any other improvements. Not really, at least in terms of the sectors. Kashoni and Nani very much at the front of the field. Mendelis joining them as well in being under 2 tenths from pole. Tomala is 2.5 tenths behind, and then Toros Tunila over 6 tenths behind. So big gap once we get to P5, but the top 4 doing well, and the top 4 has a chance to do something here. Frutos improves, and that pushes Toros Tunila out down to P6, but he sets a purple sector 1. So fastest through in the first part of the lap is Toros Tunila. Has to recover 6 tenths on the leader. Could be that his previous laps were hindered either by traffic or by mistakes. See what he can do in sector 2. Adam Kashoni doesn't look like he's really improving, and yep, he's trying to warm the tires up, so maybe not enough heat in the Michelins, especially the front ones. So trying to get a bit of extra heat. He does have that one more attempt. Matis Mendelis not improving either at the moment. Toros Tunila coming up to Sector 2 and crossing the Sector 2 line. in a moment's time. Not an improvement in Sector 2. He was quickest through Sector 1, so I would expect him to finish the lap. Green in a couple of the mini sectors as he went round the lap, but the biggest gain actually coming down into turn 1, and that's why his sector went purple. It could be that the mini sector is not super quick, but he's very, very close to what he had before. Big slide into the bus stop chicane. Big jump over the curb as well as he comes to the line. That is an improvement, and up into P2, and now he finishes his qualifying attempt. Christinani here, but I think he was held up by that GT4. Purple in Sector 1 as well. None of the purple mini sectors, but purple throughout the sector.
And he was much quicker than Toros, because Toros just did his personal first sector, and before he had that faster sector, so he improved his first sector, but not improved Nani's sector.
Has stopped, so he's not running on track. I think that's just showing his best lap.
Yeah, that's also a probability.
Maybe he hasn't stopped. I see him on the tracker, but he's definitely not reached Sector 1 just yet. So Nani improved on Tunila's Sector 1. He doesn't improve on anyone's Sector 2. And Sector 2 looking to be a little bit slower for everyone. He was in that traffic previously. He won't have another chance. With 15 seconds to go, I don't think he'll make it to the line to start another lap. Kashoni not improving either. Not seeing many cars having those big improvements. As he comes into the braking zone, he won't have a chance at another lap. Big slide as well, just like Toros Tunila, as Christinani comes to the line. And it is not an improvement.
Nope, and so he was actually 0.3 slower.
Yep, he definitely got held up in traffic. This is Grajis. Looks like he's just not hitting those apexes well enough through the final sector. Does improve on his lap, but doesn't put him too high up the field. Jan Nims, unsurprisingly, on pole position. And a very strange situation in the GT4s, as the GT4 Pro-Am leader, Jan Nims, is ahead of the GT4 Am leader of Guberevs, and then the GT4 Pro leader, Rachmanian, is in P3 in terms of if we look at all the GT4s. So strange situation there. Christinani is a Pro-Am car in the Cup, so he's on provisional pole in the Pro-Am class. And that is Jan Nims stopped. This is Miguel Silverio coming to the line to finish his final qualifying attempt. Green, and is it triple green? It is. It is an improvement of lap time, not an improvement of position, though. In P8 is Silverio. I believe everybody back into the pits. Well, mostly everyone's back into the pits. Double green from Santo Nicola as well.
Yep, and he's still on the racetrack trying to improve. He's currently P16 with a lap time of 2 minutes 22.1. That's 2.5 seconds. No, that's that's 2.5 seconds slower than the lap time of current pole sitter.
Up into the final chicane. He was green. He needs 0.4 to improve at least one position.
and
as he crossed the line, he did not have an improvement.
He did have improvement of lap time, but
yep, improvement of lap time, but not of position, I believe. So that is your grid set for the race. It is an hour-long race, so we're not looking at 2 races with a reversed grid. We are looking at just one. hour-long race with a pit stop to mix things up. Adam Kashoni takes a pole position in the Cup Pros and overall in the Cups. Then Toros Tunila in second, another one of the Cup Pro Plus cars. Cup Pro Am, headed by Christinani, he starts in third. Fourth for Matas Mendes and fifth for Tomola. And as we look down, as we get prepared to get going, Nims took pole in GT4 Pro Am, GT4 Am, and second place on the grid for Gubras, Rachmanian in P3, and pole position in the GT4 Pro Plus. GT4 Am P2 on the grid is Bailey, and then V in P5 overall, and P3 in the Am. So very, very mixed up grid. We'll see how these battles shake out, because a lot of these drivers aren't even fighting for a position, because they'll only be fighting for positions overall, and those won't really matter. As we get ready to race here at Spa, it's Porsche Fever 2025. It's the spring season here on World Sim Series. And we get going for our first event. Doesn't look like a great start from Toros Tunila on the outside. He's going to be under pressure from Nani, but actually gets a good run into turn one, breaks super duper late, and looks like he may just hold on to P2 as they run down the hill. Mendeles under pressure now from Bernini as Tomola lost the position as we run up the hill now. Tunila doesn't look like he had a great exit, but he's going to get the slipstream off the back of Kashoni. Nani's going to get the slipstream off the back of Tunila. Can anybody make a move into Lake Calm? Not really. There's moves being made further back for sure, but this battle for P1 not happening. This is Mendeles being pushed away. He's now down to P6. Tomola to P7. Frutos in 5th. Bernini up into 4th. As Kashoni and Tunila definitely in a battle side by side as they run on to the left-hander. There's going to be gravel on the outside. There wasn't gravel before, and Tunila has to back out of that one. Now he's under pressure from Christinani, so played beautifully by the international racing team, but Tunila just about holds on the outside of Puon, and will now have to catch back up to Kashoni. We'll see if he can catch back up to Kashoni, because now he's under pressure from Nani. Bernini in that battle as well. Frutos in that battle as well. Mendeles further back. Maybe he's not able to get those tires up to temperature as quickly as the others, as we round out Sector 2 of the lap. Looking further down the field, Nims still leads in GT4 and GT4 Pro Am. Nani, by the way, doesn't really need to make any moves. He's under pressure from Bernini behind. That would be for position, but it's not for position with Tunila and Kashoni in front as they run into the braking zone. Bernini stays in 5th. There's more action here further down the field. Big lockups into the bus stop chicane as we round out lap 1 of about 20-something.
Yep, 20-something. We will figure out this by the end of this race. It's a 1 hour's race with one mandatory pit stop. Everyone will have to go straight into the pit lane for at least 1 liter of fuel to be added. As usual, this is a race with a taste of endurance racing system, where drivers are forced to take that strategic call, and some of them have different ideas on which strategy is best for which race. And this is what brings a little bit more excitement to these races. 1 hour long race is more like a sprint race, but with that one pit stop, it definitely gives the drivers the need to prepare for the races, to figure out the track, to figure out the car, to understand the tires and the setup that they choose to run on. That's when they decide for those different strategies as usual. Interesting point is regarding the classes or the categories that the drivers are split into. It's based on the licensing system on the WorldSimSeries platform. Therefore, we see Jan Nimtz as the driver in the lead of the field, still racing for the Pro-Am category. Not the Pro Plus, I believe. This is something new to us also, so we have to figure this out during this race mostly, how it goes.
Nim's in the Pro-Am category, but he's actually overtaking some of the Pro-Am Cup cars out on track. He's going to be overtaken back down this straight, I guess, just because of the extra power the Cup car has, as Kashoni sets the fastest lap of the race so far. And Nims finally now in line with the GT4s, but already 2.2 seconds ahead. This is not unexpected, I would say. I mean, to see Nims run away at the front of the field is nothing new, and that's what he's still doing.
And that's usually the premium series is when we see Jan Nims racing, and most of the races he dominates the field, but I think that's probably the most that Jan Nims is doing on the WorldSimSeries platform. That's why there are some other guys who have a higher license level than Jan Nims, and they are still slightly slower than the famous German driver. So interesting thought for the organizers of this championship to try and figure out how the licensing system might evolve after this. We have a very fast driver who is already 2.5 seconds ahead of the second placed GT4 car driver, as we have some position changes and big battle, I believe, in the GT Cup class, as we were looking at the GT4s, where everything seems calm and stable at this moment. There's plenty of action at front of the field. This is the battle for P6, Tomala, Bernini, Colossi and Silverio. And Matas Mendelis is a little bit further ahead of this battle, and good news for him, because while looking at his rear view mirrors, he can figure out that the drivers behind are struggling for ideal lines, and they are going slightly slower than usual. That's where Matas Mendelis will have hopes to gain a little bit more space between himself and other drivers, as this is Colossi and Bernini, I believe, battling for P7 into the bus stop chicane. And that was a move done. No, that's Bernini actually. He was behind. That's the results screen jumping up and down. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to figure out which driver is battling for what position. This is Silverio against Colossi, actually. It was not Bernini, so Silverio in that silver Porsche Cup and Colossi in that dark blue. Plenty of track limit allowance on the Radeon corner.
Looking to the front, by the way, Toros Mila already 1.5 seconds down on the lead, and well, running slower than Adam Kashoni. So not looking great for Toros at the moment. He's under pressure from Nani behind. Frutos behind Nani, he's a pro car. Mendelis behind Frutos, he's a pro car. Komala is the highest, the second highest Pro-Am car, and he's down in 6th place overall. So Nani doesn't really need to do anything here. He can just save tires, save fuel, and continue running calmly. We look at Nani here. He's a little bit under pressure from Frutos behind, but doesn't have to worry too much.
Yep, just usual procedure at this moment. The drivers in this group are on a very similar pace, and they all understand the consequences of battles with each other. So I think they're currently just looking after their tires and their brakes and everything they can look after, and just try to run in the slipstream, maybe save up some fuel. That depends on the strategy of the drivers, but they try to stick together and avoid any probable battles which will definitely slow them down. Only 3/10 separate Nani and Frutos as they approach turn 1, and both drivers lock up the tires. Not sure if that's only the visuals or it was an actual lockup. That means that the drivers are not thinking about their tire longevity, so most likely these drivers will do the tire change. We received some info before this race about how the Porsche Cup tires react to those longer sessions, and I believe the tires that hurt the most are the rear tires on the Porsche Cup cars. The front tires have a little bit more life in them. Well, at least if the car is set up the way that the driver shared that information is.
We'll see. I'm sure we'll see many different strategies from everyone up and down the field, and it will depend on your position on track at that moment. What makes more sense?
It looks like Leo Bryan lost a couple of places, actually 4 places. He was running 9th, he's running 13th now. Lost places to the whole group of cars, so...
I think maybe some contact or something. He lost a lot of time. Lost about 7 seconds, so must have been off track somewhere. And I think he'll have a chance now at Grzy's in front. Around the outside, I don't think that's going to work. Has to stay patient. He's got to get through a few more corners. Once he gets out on to the back straightaway here, he'll have a very nice chance. Just doesn't need to rush it. If he does, he's just losing more and more time. He'll have a chance into the bus stop, and I think that's where he'll make the move, and that's the smartest place to make a move. Actually, well, I thought he was going to try something into Blanchimont. Nope. Kashoni fastest again. So really pushing his Porsche Cup car. As O'Brien's going to go down the inside into the bus stop chicane and gets the move done cleanly. So back up to 12, but 3 more positions to be back to where he was previously. Chandi in 15th, so quite a few drivers setting their fastest laps of the race. Now, actually looking at the grid, we are missing Rahmanian. Not missing, but he's down in 31st. So he's lost out big time. He's lost 7 positions from where he started on the grid. So huge time loss for him. This is a battle for, still a battle for 14th. It was a battle for 13th. Oh, inside. Gallardo. Tarchandi went up a position there as well. So she's actually losing spots, and losing spots fast. Now under pressure from Shibilka behind, and Lapo's next to try and get past him. Really not great pace at the moment. With soon to be 7 laps done in this race. Actually, 6 laps done. Will be on lap 7. As this is Adam Krishoni on your screens. Yep, still going quicker than Toros Tunila. Another half second gained. And that gap at the front now 3.2 seconds. Toros Tunila will have to think of something to gain all that time back.
Yeah, maybe the strategies are quite different by both of these drivers. You never know which decision each driver has taken, because during the qualifying session, the difference in the fastest lap time between Toros and Khashoggi was 1/10 of a second. So maybe Khashoggi is on a more aggressive strategy where he has less fuel on board and can use out those tires a little bit more heavily, whereas Toros might be on a more conservative strategy. That's what makes this racing a bit more interesting than the usual sprint races. Drivers have to figure out what works best for them. Maybe that's why we see this gap, or maybe is it just Khashoggi feeling much more comfortable on the Spa-Francorchamps circuit with identical cars. And remember, he won the second race 1 week ago in the first EB ATCC round with the G20 BMWs. So he's maybe on a very good shape at this moment and is trying not to lose it. That's why we might see him dominating this race at this moment. Matas Mendelis in fifth, only half a second ahead of Tomola. This is a battle for P5. Mendelis qualified fourth, so I believe he's just trying to recover after that very bad first lap, as he's being chased down by a driver who qualified fifth. So looks like Frutos is the biggest winner in the top 10 group at this moment. He qualified seventh, is running fourth at this moment, is kind of being chased down by Mendelis and Tomola. Still has a very comfortable gap and tries to pressurize Nani and Tunila. Still very nice to see these Porsche Cup cars running quite close to each other after almost 17 completed minutes and 7 completed laps, or is it 8 completed laps? Are we on lap 8? Or
we are on lap 8, so 7 done and more to go. Cars come into that braking zone. This is V or P. Well, we have to find out.
I believe that's P6. No, P5 actually. We is trying to chase down Gavars in the GT4 class. What about the Pro
Actually,
Plus?
they switched positions. So Gavars went up and we went down. But that doesn't change anything in terms of their class positions, because Gavars is first and he is fourth in his class. So, yep, difficult to say, but no change in class position, change in overall position between these two.
Yep, and more or less it's much more calmer in the GT4 class than it is in the Cup class. Looks like the gaps between the cars are slightly bigger here, and the biggest battles are just to staying alive and staying on the racetrack, as Karnatka completes his drive-through penalty for cutting the track. Is down in 33rd place overall.
Nims, by the way, still ahead of a cup car. That cup car behind of Kamandulis did take a pit stop, but still pretty impressive to see Nims ahead of a cup car with, well, almost 8 laps done. He is running slower. Well, it makes sense because obviously very, very different cars. But still nice to see him ahead of a cup car. So he has somebody to fight with, at least.
Running with
Silverio.
Yep, still trying to chase down Colossi. Remember, these are the two drivers that we're running side by side. In the first laps, as Tunila is being pressurized by Nani, it's still roughly half of a second. That's how tight it is between the first runners. Wow! Silverio with a big lockup and lost the traction on the rear. Nice car control and nice catch, but that's gonna cost him plenty of time. He will fall back behind Colossi, not gonna be that close. And the next thing he will have to be worried about are his tires on that Porsche. But looking at the driving style, I'm pretty sure Silverio will definitely go into the pit lane not only to add a 1 liter of fuel to the fuel tank, he will change those tires. And the only option for him is whether he put the full amount of fuel before the race or he just poured in the needed amount of fuel. But of course, if you go for that tire change, I'm pretty sure you want to start with a lighter car and then fill up slightly during the pit stop while your team are changing the tires. Oh, we missed something. That's Kriusi Nani versus Tauras Tunila, and I was kind of calm about the gap between Nani and Tunila, but it looks like Tunila was forced to overtake some lapped cars, and that might have cost him the second position as he still locks up into the bus stop chicane.
Doesn't look like he has any damage, so maybe just trying to recover from that mistake, over pushing. Again, these two don't really need to fight. The only problem for Tunila is losing time to Kashoni ahead. Because Nani is a Pro-Am car, they're not in a battle between each other.
He actually lost a little bit of time to Nani after that lockup, and now being pressurized by Frutos. So it's kind of becoming from bad to a little bit worse for Tauras Tunila, who was running second behind Kashoni. Still a very huge gap between Kashoni and Nani kind of indicates that Kashoni might be on a slightly different strategy as he also deals with the traffic. Still having that free room behind you can allow you to go for slightly more thoughtful moves around those corners to avoid accidents, as Frutos now makes a small mistake while he's trying to chase down Tauras Tunila. And it looks like the tires on these cup cars are becoming slightly more older and more used. Colossi, I think Colossi is up to P6 because right now between himself and Silverio is this white golden car of Tomala. Yep, actually, and at the beginning of the lap, Tomola was in front of Kolostsai. So he had to made a mistake somewhere in this lap. Now trying to chase down Tomola, but it looks like the used tire problem is taking some sort of a shape. Brzabilka receiving a drive-through penalty for cutting the track. That should have happened on the Radion and Rouge and Radion corners. As usual, it's very easy to gain a little bit too much of speed on the entry and cut that chicane on this uphill. As Silverio, he was on a very edge of that track limit. Still, it was within the rules because there's no warning for him. He's not slowing down.
Danila under pressure again, I see at the front. Yep, just looking here. Just right behind us, Danila got stuck in that traffic. The GT4 moves right out of the way. He doesn't want to be involved in this, and this actually plays into the hands of Toras Tunila, who maybe expected the traffic to move a bit more. And Mendelis is actually returning to this battle. He was out of it at the start of the race, lost a lot of time. Now, gaining time as Bernini is off. He's losing places. He's back into the pits. But Mendelis
back on the track.
actually,
It looks like he has some issues with the server. Yep, so he's...
Mendelis actually fastest car on track last lap. Obviously, traffic plays a part in this, but the only driver into the 2-minute 20s. So a very slow build-up. Got that tire prepared, didn't overheat it in the early stages and didn't overuse it in the early stages. Now he can reap the benefits as he's going quicker than anybody else in the field. We'll see what happens this lap, because last lap he gained a second on the two cars ahead. Will he gain a similar amount this time? Nani into the 220s as, yep, Mendelis again, big chunk of time taken out and taken out of Kashoni as well. Nani quickest through this time. And also sliding out of the first turn is Mendelis, as Tunila is going to have a chance at getting past some of this traffic. No. And this, now he's in big trouble. This is going to be big trouble because Bruton, he's coming in at full blast. He's coming in at full pace. Doesn't need to brake. The GT4 moves right out of the way as the two Cup cars approach. Does Bruton have enough of overlap here? Down into Lake Home, goes to the outside. Out, both of them outside of a GT4. And Toros Danila just about holds on, but he was in big trouble as he went up Rouge and Radion. He saw those GT4 cars. He couldn't get past any of them. And it is a huge time loss when you get stuck behind somebody going up that hill. On board with Mendelis as he chases down the two in front. He didn't really gain or lose anything in that exchange with the traffic. Biggest gainer is Bruton, obviously. But Mendelis did gain on Milan in this exchange in traffic. So interesting to see, but Bruton loses a bit more time to Tunila, which is strange, as he had gotten right up to his rear.
Yep, Matas Mendelis has also struggled behind the lapped cars, but it looks like Alosa is doing a pretty nice job while trying to chase down Mendelis, Frutos and Tunila, and to make it a 4-car battle for P3 at this moment. Nani is on a very nice pace. Looks like he met that traffic on the most comfortable places on the racetrack and lost the least amount of time. Tunila, Frutos and Mendelis, they had to deal with traffic on 2 previous laps, and it looks like it hurt the performance for them a little bit more. than it did for their rivals. Look at the lap time by Chrissy Nani. That's 2 minutes 20.7. Toros Tonila crossing the line. This is 2 minutes 21.9. Is it? Yep, it's 2 minutes 21.9, so 1.2 seconds lost to the lead of Nani in the battle for P2. Frutos 2 minutes 21.7. Matas Mendelis 2 minutes 22.1. So Colossi is definitely gaining. And he's already almost right on the tail of Matas Mendelis. It's only 1.5 seconds separating these two vehicles. So Colossi finally found some nice race pace, and he was chased down by Silverio, who is now headed towards the pit lane for his first mandatory pit stop with 31 minutes on the clock. Looks like he chose to make that pit stop right in the middle of the 1 hour race session to put on some fresh rubber and add in some fuel. It's gonna be interesting to see where Silverio is gonna end up with this race, because he's one of the first stoppers to the pit lane. And if anyone is interested in a 50-50 strategy, they should be heading towards the pit lane by the end of this or the next lap.
Yep, should think of heading into the pits. We'll see if that actually does happen. I don't think we have a pit window per se, so you can pit at any point you wish.
Exactly.
Bilka disconnected.
He's actually disqualified from the race for not taking a drive-through penalty.
Okay.
Nope, Kashoni is staying on the racetrack, locking up those tires slightly, but it looks like he's not on a faster strategy.
Nani actually pulls the pin. He's the first one of the top 5 to take a pit stop, and we'll see where that puts him. And it will be very interesting to see what happens with his tires. Would be nice to have a view on Nani now to see if his car goes. How long is his car going to be stationary in the pits for? If we could have a camera on Nani.
Yep,
and
still stationary.
Definitely stationary, so I think that has to be a tire change. As he gets going. I don't think it tells us, right, if anybody's changed tires, but it would make sense if he did, considering how long he was stationary for. Mendelis very much under pressure from Kaloshkai behind. Not something we expected, really, because Mendelis was on a tear. And now Kaloshkai is quickest out on track, and quickest by a big margin as well. So the gap's coming up and coming down.
Ooh. Side by side now.
Yep, side by side into Puon. He doesn't need to use the traffic. He does have traffic in front, and Mendelis doesn't fight this one. Well, he understands it's a battle that's going to be hard to win when the guy behind you is 8/10 quicker a lap. So Mendelis is going to have to stick behind and see how that progresses for him.
I wonder what slowed Mendelis down. Did he start to think about his tires? Look at the rear.
Or he overpushed them. He went too hard on them and then started overheating. That's a possibility.
Yep, he was chasing down the guys in front. He was chasing down Tonila, Nani, and
Kashoni as well.
Kashoni, and there was and there was another driver. I think Frutos was also
Kashoni into the pit, and would be nice to see that as well. See how long he's stationary for, because he was super duper quick as Kashoni comes down on to pit road. He'll be the last pit box, or the first pit box if you're driving Spa in reverse, as he's stationary, and he's stationary more than for just a splash. So tires going on to the car of Adam Kashoni. That is the decision made by that team.
Yep,
We'll see
well,
what Todas Tunila does. I guess he kind of has to go do the reverse.
but that's definitely might be an answer why Toros Tunila was slightly slower at the first half of the race. It will now go to the final decision of the driver of the team about the strategy, and if both Dream to Drive cars stay out on the racetrack for as long as possible, it might be an indicator. That's definitely gonna be an indicator that both the cars are on that survival strategy where they try to use all the life of one set of tires, and that's going to make them very slow towards the end of this race, while the other drivers who have already stopped, they will be very fast. At this moment, actually Kashoni, is 28 seconds behind Toros Tunila, which is not such a huge gap. Having in mind that Toros Tunila will still have to go into the pit lane. Maybe it's gonna be only a short splash and dash, as Bernini receiving a drive through for cutting.
Looks like a lot of cars in a struggle for track limits, if I may say so.
Yep.
And well, let's see what Toras Tunila does. Is he gonna go into the pits this time? Nope, stays out. So I think he's going for the strategy of no tires, and he's gonna push it to the very, very end. So we'll not really know what's gonna happen until the very, very end of this race.
Yep, so it's Tomala. What about Colossi? Also staying on the racetrack. He's only 3 seconds ahead of Kashoni, and Kashoni is on new tires, so he'll gonna catch up with Colossi quite short. Why is 2 minutes 38.7? So did Colossi actually go into the pit lane? I kind of missed that information. But if he did,
that could be the case if he just did a splash and dash.
Yep.
That would make sense, and that is your kind of reference point. So Colossi was ahead of Mendelis. He's now ahead of Kashoni by 3 seconds. Tunila would be another 2 or so up the road, so about 5 seconds. So we're going to watch the gap between Kashoni and Colossi to determine where Tunila will be once he rejoins from the pit. Right now, pace difference not so huge, but it's going to increase as the race goes on. And with Tunila now only having a 5-second advantage at the front of the field, this doesn't look good for him. I can't see him holding on to that gap with the tires that he's got on, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how this race will continue.
Frutos has overtaken Kalmaitis. Toros Tunila has to deal with the traffic as he comes to an end of lap 16.
We'll have 16 completed as he crosses the line here. 22 minutes and 22 seconds to go in this one. So we're over halfway through. And we're approaching the end of this race where everything will be decided.
Colossi actually doing pretty good. If he only did a splash and dash and ended up ahead of Kashoni, so that means he should be on old tires, whereas Kashoni should be on new ones. That's always the headaches that these sprint races or 1 hour long races with one mandatory pit stop are giving us to try and figure
what's going
out.
to be very, very difficult to see here.
Yeah.
What's going to be very, very difficult for Colossi is actually to continue this pace until the very, very end. From what we know, the tire should have a massive drop-off towards the end.
Oh yeah, but by the looking at the lap times, actually Colossi was slightly faster than Kosciuszko on the previous lap time. Does he do it on old tires still? The fastest lap time of the race is 2 minutes 19.9. The fastest lap time by Colossi is 2 minutes 20.3. So, if you ask me, I'd say Colossi is on new tires. I'm not sure how he managed to end up ahead of Kosciuszko.
I can't see him being then ahead of Kosciuszko.
Yeah, but that pace, look. Yeah, pace of Matas Mendel is 2 minutes 21.5. So pace from Tonila is also not too bad. 2 minutes 21.0. That's only 0.3 slower than the pace of Kosciuszko and 0.3 slower than the pace of Colossi. Well, 0.4 slower. But Tonila
I would have said that it's about the tires not warming up, but the drivers do have tire blankets, so the tires will be up to temperature. Because Kosciuszko definitely did change tires. I think he's really gonna be quick once we get into the final 10 minutes compared to everybody else. And that's the difficult part. That's gonna be the difficult part for Taurus, Tonila, Matas, Mendeles, and Colossi in front of Kosciuszko.
Tonila again, 2 minutes 21.0. Very nice, stable pace by the current leader. I couldn't say he's virtually in the lead. Yes, he has to go into the pit lane, but that's going to be a very short stop. And I'm pretty sure both Dream to Drive cars are currently in a very serious battle for the win of this round. And, well, the heads go to Taurus Tonila at this moment to be the closest fighter against Kosciuszko. What about Nani? He's down in P7. And he's 6 seconds behind Kosciuszko.
At the moment, it doesn't really matter for Nani. Because Tomola still has to do a pit stop. He's only 20 seconds up the road from Nani. And that's his battle in the Pro-Am class. So Nani just needs to keep marching on forward. He's gaining on Tomola, and he's gaining a lot on Tomola.
Yeah, but he has to deal with O'Brien, who is right in front of Nani.
Yep, this is a battle he doesn't want to get involved in because it's not a car from his class. As he goes to the inside, O'Brien, well, he's not letting this one go either, which is an interesting choice, considering these two being in different classes, but O'Brien not giving that position up that easily. But even then, Nani gaining on Tomola anyway. So again, doesn't have to take unnecessary risks here. So how's that gap from Kosciuszko to Colossi? It has gone down. Now it's gone down to 2 seconds. Colossi in a little bit of traffic. Difficult to say for now what the actual gap. Well, if Colossi is now starting to lose time, but he's definitely lost time. But that again could just be the traffic. I believe they're actually getting past Jan Nims here. Who still holds the lead in GT4, both in Pro-Am and overall. And by a big margin as well. As down the inside goes Adam Kosciuszko, gets passed. Jan Nims, the GT4 Pro-Am leader and the GT4 leader overall as well.
So Colossi lost 1 full second on the previous lap, but I'm pretty sure it's because some traffic situations, as Crisinani managed to overtake O'Brien. He's now 8 seconds behind Kosciuszko.
Kosciuszko 2 minute 20.2.
Yep, that's full second faster than Colossi.
Yep, but he's turned up the pace. Really has 2 minutes 20.2. That's one of the quicker laps we've seen tonight. That is 1 second quicker than the race leader, 1.4 quicker than Mendelis in second. Now he's starting to gain time. Now is the critical point in this race with 15 minutes to go, just a quarter of the race to go. And now the battles will start. And look at that, Kosciuszko now destroying the gap to Colossi in front. 1.3 it is now. Now this is where Colossi will have to play it smart. And his best case scenario here is actually to not fight Kosciuszko behind. Just so he doesn't lose time, because he's got a shot at Tunila and Mendelis up in front. He just needs to stay calm.
Yep, the most difficult part for the drivers now is to try and figure out the time needed in the pit lane if they're going only for a very short splash and dash. I'm trying to figure out why the gap is decreasing. Oh, it's because the time tower is just getting a little bit insane. And it's jumping up and down on various places on the racetrack. But what is clear now that Tunila and Mendelis are on that very long run, as Tomala is straight into the pit lane. That's gonna be an easy piece of cake for Crisinani as he stays on the racetrack and continues his journey to better places. Remember, he was running second. He's now down to fifth. Tunila and Mendelis, they still have to make that pit stop. I'm not sure how Colossi managed to stay in front of Kosciuszko. Well, actually, we are now pretty sure how Colossi didn't change the tires as Kosciuszko did, and with every past minute, with every completed corner, the pace of Colossi is gonna drop down. As the pace of Kosciuszko and Nani, it's gonna stay up, and Colossi will have to be smart here. Look at the gap now; it's only half a second between Colossi and Kosciuszko, and that's definitely a very wise advice by Gustas Grimbergas to try and avoid those battles with Kosciuszko. Even if it's on the clock, the pace difference is not worth to battle it out. Just try to keep up, try to stick up with Kosciuszko, give him room, and think about your other rivals as Gidius Gragis receives a drive-through penalty. Look, and Colossi actually went defensive, and they even touch with the doors as they continue to run side by side. Kosciuszko is in front, but still the move is not completed. I think it's done now. Colossi is lining up behind Kosciuszko, and it's gonna be very interesting to figure out what the lap times of these two drivers is gonna look like when they will cross the start and finish line. They did have a little bit of traffic on this lap to deal with, and the most amount of time they might have lost is while they were battling each other. Look at Colossi, he's all over the back of Kosciuszko. Actually, he ran into the back of that Porsche in front. Car number one was bumped by Colossi. I'm not sure if that did help them or not. 2 minutes 23.3, so Colossi lost 2 seconds. Have this in mind as we will cross the start and finish line. 2 seconds is lost by Colossi as he was battling Kosciuszko. He definitely lost a little bit during that traffic, but he lost a lot while he was in a harsh battle with a driver who has fresh tires on the Porsche Cup. Car Frutos has managed to overtake O'Brien, so O'Brien is struggling. He is definitely the driver who didn't change the tires if he went into the pit lane. It's a shame we don't have that information at this moment, but I'm pretty sure O'Brien also did visit the pit lane for that mandatory pit stop. I think we should salute a little bit the GT4 class, which we have forgotten about. And Gubarev's driver in the AM category is currently second in the GT4 class, trying to chase down Jan Nimtz, who is 24 seconds ahead and is trying to...
He's more looking to not get chased down by Rachmanyan behind.
Actually, he can allow himself to be chased down by Rachmanyan, because Rachmanyan is a
different class, but
yep.
I think he'd like to be second overall. I don't think anybody in GT4 at the moment has any dreams of catching Jan Nimtz.
No.
They would have to get into they'd have to make a pit stop, get into the GT3 Cup car, and I think that would still be on the edge. I mean, you'd have to go fast. You'd have to go Adam Kashoni's pace to catch back up to Jan Nimtz, even if you got into a Cup car, because it's half a minute. That's the gap. And it's about 8 seconds a lap that these guys are gaining. So, yep, he's pretty much a Cup car in front, which is pretty impressive with 50 minutes done in this race.
Oh, wow, Matas Mendelis. He lost out. Did he pit on the previous lap time? It was 2 minutes 26.3. Now it's 2 minutes 31. Yes, Matas Mendelis. I'm pretty sure Matas Mendelis went into the pit lane, and we have missed that because he's now 20 seconds behind Toros Tunila. He was 4 seconds behind. Now he's 4 seconds ahead of Kashoni. So one pit stop takes roughly 15 seconds of time. To a very brief, short calculation and speculation, 9 minutes on the clock. I think Kashoni will gain on Matas Mendelis, and that shouldn't be a very hard task for him to overtake that Dream to Drive car, which is on very old tires, though...
What's very strange to me is that somehow Colossi then lost 5 seconds to Mendelis. So he must have taken some tires, maybe?
Two, maybe?
Well, left sides only?
Yep, that's also a probability, and might indicate why his pace is kind of okay, though the pace of Toros Tunila is very similar, 2 minutes 21.3.
So Toros Tunila will be another 5 seconds ahead of whatever Mendelis is, which is not great news for Adam Kashoni.
Look at the gap, it's already 2.5 seconds. Very big pace advantage, very big pace difference between the old and the new tires. Still, Matas Mendelis is looking for a very nice, comfortable position in this race. Well, it looks like he's currently battling with Kashoni, but actually his battle will gonna switch to a battle between Colossi and himself. Gresinani is quite far behind, 11.5 seconds, so it looks like it's not manageable, though Nani's also flying on the racetrack. He's actually faster than Kashoni, 2 minutes 20.1. So the drivers with the new tires, they definitely are very fast on the track right now. 2 minutes 0.7, Mendelis and Kashoni. So Kashoni spent a little bit too much time behind the traffic, though it's still a 2 minutes 20.4 versus 2 minutes 22.01.5 seconds in a matter of one lap. So he'll definitely be in a very battle-y situation with Matas Mendelis shortly. But now, as a teammate of Toros Tunila, should Matas Mendelis... he definitely should make the whole... Yep.
He has to do everything here. He needs to make that Porsche Cup as wide as he can. The more time he can lose for Kashoni, the more time he gains for Tunila. But he also has to think of his own race, because he's got Colossi 5 seconds behind. So he can't lose too much. Kashoni's sliding as well, so it's not like he's on a super duper grippy tire. He's on a grippier tire, but it's not perfect on his end. So
I think he's just giving it the maximum that he can to that car, to those tires. Only 6 minutes on the clock. He definitely understands the situation. He already has the
but
numbers
that's a
in his
lot
head.
of rotation. That is actually, I think, too much rotation. Just looking at
Overdriving the car?
how
Is he
yeah,
overdriving?
I mean, normally if you're overdriving, you're gonna have a lot of front push, so you're gonna kind of feel the car being tight almost, rather than what he has now, which is mainly loose everywhere. So strange situation.
Yep, and it looks like it's not gonna be that huge pace advantage in during this lap.
Mila into the pits. So this is going to be the answer to all of our questions. Toros Tunila will not, well, I don't expect him to take tires. Would be a very interesting choice if he does, but he's just going to come in, stop for a second, and go right after. So Toros Tunila exiting the pit lane right now. Be careful to not hit the wall on the exit, and this is your gap. Now, for the... Oh, I thought the GT4 went off so wide, I thought Mendeles had spun. But now, that gap, 8 seconds at the front of the field. They're going to have a big gain now, down, up Radion, and all the way up to Lake Holm. Toros Tunila exiting the pits, he's slower normally. 6 seconds to Matas Mendeles, so a good run by Toros up until his pit stop, gaining a little bit more time. This has swung very much into the direction of a dream to drive. I can't see Adam Kashoni catching up to Toros Tunila.
Yep, he still has to deal with Matas Mendeles, who is actually...
He's going to have 2 laps at the end of this one.
That's plenty of time for him to deal with Matas Mendeles.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, you can defend around this place. He's not going to catch Toros Tunila. No chance at that, unless Toros blows up his tires or something. So I'm very interested in what Colossi did.
Oh, Matas Mendeles right on the edge of this of the edge of the racetrack. He's also pushing.
Here's Colossi. So he went ahead of Kashoni after the pits. Definitely spent less time in the pits, but somehow spent more time than Tunila or Mendeles. So I can only assume that's a 2-tire stop.
So maybe Colossi did have a lighter car at the beginning of this race,
I mean,
and
that would have been a massive mistake if he actually did that.
Oh, and that's gonna be close.
I'm gonna assume he did 2 tires. Here we go into block side by side. Mendeles versus Kashoni. Mendeles wants to hold on to this one. Kashoni off the road, and track limits definitely for him, but here we go into the bus stop chicane. Mendeles is not going to let this one go easily side by side. Where's Mendeles? In front. He's still in front. Door banging with 2 to go now. 3 minutes on the clock as they cross the line. Here we go. Still door banging down into turn 1. Still side by side. And Mendeles holds on to it just about for now. Still side by side, a little bit of a flash of the lights from Kashoni behind, as he now, well, he has to lift here. He needs to make a gap, because if he's this close, he won't gain.
I think he did do a lift, but a little bit too late. He's still going to be very close, and the draft is doing magic. Adam Kashoni is gaining on Matas Mendeles, aligning side by side. He's forced to choose the outside line, but the fresher rubber...
Right here into the braking zone.
Oh, Kashoni goes sideways
from Kashoni, but actually survives that one around the outside into Lake Holm. And Matas Mendeles will, either he's going to go for something desperate here, or he's going to settle for third. He does settle for third. No chance now for him to catch back up unless there's a mistake from Kashoni.
Yeah, there's
But
no need
I
for him to make
think
any moves because Colossi is still within that range of giving it a shot, even though we are 1.5 laps down to see the checkered flag. Matas Mendelis stays wise and clever here. Remember, he started 4th. He dropped down to 7th, I believe, in the first laps of this race. He's now recovered to P3, which is still a very nice achievement. He needs to settle down and now think about the final 1.3 laps of this race. What about Tauras Tonila? I'm pretty sure he's calm and relaxed. And, well, he just thinks about how to not make any sort of a mistake as he will start the final lap of this race with a very nice result. So there's your answer. That's the answer why we have seen Kashoni on a better pace at the first half of this race. Tauras Tonila was more conservative, and especially he started to save those tires even before the first pit stops took place. And as he starts the final lap, he has 7 seconds advantage. What about such a feeling during this race for being a race leader? I think he can think about the next one already, just not make any mistakes. He can be as slow as 2 minutes 25, and he would still reach the checkered flag in first place.
Yep, doesn't have to do anything crazy. He's done his job and done it pretty well.
Gubarev's still second, and actually 3.8 seconds ahead of Bagley. Rahmanian down in 4th.
Yep, losing time. So interesting that the Pro car is actually losing to the 2M and 1 Pro-Am car. But Tauras Tonila on his final lap around a big slide at Poulan. Not a place you do want to slide too much. He's, I think, just going to be careful around the rest of the lap. Doesn't want to blow up his Michelins. Yep, he's clearly much more careful. I think that slide at Poulan really woke him up. And yep, just you can see from the body language of the car, big slide as he comes on to the back straight. He's either showing off for the cameras or he's got nothing on the rear.
I think he has got nothing on the rear.
Oh, wow. He's taking risks where he doesn't need to. I mean, he has the gap as he comes down into the bus stop chicane. I think now he's going to give us a show for the cameras out the final turn. Tauras Tonila wins the first race of the Porsche Fever Series. Mendelis under pressure from Colossi loses the position on the final lap in the final turn. Colossi takes P3. Mendelis down in P4 as Tauras Tonila gives us some donuts down in turn 1. Adam Kashoni, well, he had his strategy. He stuck to it, but it was a slower decision today. Jan Nims, well, we didn't talk about him much today because he's been so dominant. He's actually going to finish closer to the Cup cars than he is the GT4s.
Yeah, I think he came here just to relax, just to have a nice, calm race with some rhythm. He didn't have a lot of pressure from behind. Well, actually, he had no pressure from behind, and he will finish ahead of the nearest GT4. 35 seconds ahead, and this is no news for us. Anyone who knows Jan Nimtz from the racing on the WorldSimSeries platform. He's always being very dominant. I just leaves me wonder why he didn't choose to drive the Cup cars, where we see a much tighter competition, and we see different drivers leading at different stages of the race. And we definitely had a very nice battle for not only the win but the final podium places, as we witnessed a very unfortunate last lap for Matas Mendeles. Well, he had 3 seconds advantage against Colossi. Somehow he
I think
managed to lose
the
it.
tires completely dropped off in the final lap. You saw what was happening with Toros Tunila. I think the same might have happened with Matas Mendeles, maybe a little bit more even. But Jan Nims takes the win in GT4 Pro-Am and GT4 overall. Let's run through the results. Toros Tunila takes the win in Cup Pro Plus. Cup Pro Plus second place goes to Adam Gashoni, and Colossi take third, fourth for Matas Mendes. So it is an all-pro top four. Then Christinani takes the win in the Pro-Am class ahead of Kalmaitis and Tomala in the Cup Pro-Ams. In terms of the GT4s, the GT4 Pro-Am is won by Jan Nims, ahead of the GT4 Am car of Gubarevs, who's ahead of the GT4 Am car of Bagley. GT4 Pro Plus is won by Rachmanian. Third in the GT4 Ams went to V. Second in the GT4 Pro Pluses went to Gavars. And second in the GT4 Pro Ams went to Schlibusch. So that is your finishing order in the 5 classes that we had here tonight. And the drivers will, some of them will be preparing for the next round of the EBATCC. That's coming up next week on Thursday. And will be heading to the Slovakiaring on March the 18th at the same time as tonight for round 2 of the Porsche Fever series.
Yep.
It has been a very nice evening covering this, and from myself, I say good night.
Yep. Have a good one, and see you next week.